Hey there, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be talking about something that might sound like a contradiction, namely plotting for pantsers. If you're someone who prefers to write by the seat of your pants, who enjoys discovering the story as you go, you might already feel resistant to this topic. You might be thinking, if I wanted to plot, I wouldn't be a pantser. And that's fair, but here's what I want to suggest today. Plotting doesn't have to mean planning everything in advance. And being a pantser doesn't mean you have to wander without direction. There's actually a middle ground. First, let's define what we mean. A pantser is usually someone who starts with an idea or a character, begins drafting quickly, and figures things out on the page. They find discovery energizing and often find planning restrictive. And honestly, that discovery energy is powerful. It's spontaneous and grows directly from the action as it plays out. Some of the most alive, surprising moments in fiction come from writers who didn't overplan them, because the problem isn't discovery. The problem is what happens around the middle of the book. This is where many pantsers hit a wall. The initial excitement fades, the story expands in too many directions, and threads don't connect. Suddenly, the draft feels messy or impossible to finish. That's usually the moment when someone says, maybe I should have outlined. So instead of trying to turn you into a full planner, I want to talk about something else, namely lightweight plotting. Plotting that supports discovery instead of replacing it. What you might consider trying is plotting after you start writing. Here's something that might surprise you. You don't have to outline before you draft. You can outline after you've written a few chapters. In fact, for many pantsers, that works better. Write until you feel slightly lost, then pause, look at what you've created, and ask yourself, what does my character seem to want now? What problem is emerging? What direction feels most charged? Then, sketch a rough path forward from there, not detailed scenes, just a direction. This allows you to keep your early discovery intact while preventing total drift later. You can also plot using questions instead of answers. One reason outlining can feel restrictive is when it tries to answer everything. Instead, try outlining in questions. For example, what will force my character to confront this fear? What could go wrong next? What would make this situation worse? You don't have to lock in the solution, you just need to point your imagination somewhere. Asking questions preserves curiosity, and curiosity fuels pantsers. Another idea is to just identify turning points. Nothing more. If you resist full outlines, try this instead. Identify these three things. The moment everything changes at the beginning, a shift or realization in the middle, a final choice at the end. That's it. You don't need scene lists, you don't need chapter breakdowns, just anchors. Think of them as tent poles. You still get to improvise the fabric between them while writing. Alternatively, try using reverse outlining. This is especially helpful for pantsers during revision and works like this. After drafting several chapters, go back and summarize what actually happened. One sentence per scene. You're not planning ahead, you're mapping what already exists. This allows patterns to start emerging. Gaps become obvious. Character motivations clarify, and suddenly the plot doesn't feel chaotic anymore. It feels adjustable. Finally, plot emotionally, not logically. Pantsers often resist plotting because logical sequencing feels dry, so don't start there. Start with emotion. Ask yourself the following. How does my character feel at the beginning? How do I want them to feel at the end? What has happened? What has to happen internally for that shift to make sense? You see, when you plot transformation instead of events, the process feels far more organic because you're not forcing scenes, you're creating change over time. Here's something important. Plotting for pantsers isn't about control, it's about clarity. You're not trying to eliminate surprise, you're trying to reduce confusion and the possibility of writing yourself into a corner, which is something I have done more than once in my pantser days and would not recommend to anyone. Honestly, there is nothing worse than realizing you have to rewrite half your novel in order for it to work. This is something lightweight plotting prevents. It shows you the structure and gives you a thread to help guide you through the story from start to finish. So, here's the good news. You don't have to change your identity as a writer or become hyper-organized. All we're talking about here is giving you enough structure to support your creativity, not to replace it. Before we wrap up, please let me know in the comments if you consider yourself a full pantser, a planner, or maybe somewhere in between. And if you've tried outlining before, what part of it felt most unnatural to you? If this video helped you rethink plotting from a pantser perspective and you'd like more practical guidance on structure without rigidity, please subscribe to the channel for weekly videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.